You are listening to the F11 Photography Podcast.
Chasers of light, to the purveyors of pictures, to all of you watching and listening from around the world, this is the F11 Photography Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Deal, and I'm making a bunch of weird noises to throw Brandon off. And speaking of, your other host is Mr. Brandon Gorey.
Let's do it. All right, yeah, we're here.
That was quite a Rocky yell. Well, he was laughing at me for making weird noises, but I think he takes the cake on that one.
Can you do that again? No, can you make your noise again?
I don't know. I'd have to listen to it.
Kevin goes.
I think it was something like. I can't even do it anymore.
Yeah, he sounded like a weird.
Anyway, I'm gonna save Brandon doing a Sylvester Stallone. I'm gonna just put it on my little drop machine. So when I hit buttons like this. Adrian. By the way, if you're tuning in from Philadelphia, you guys worship a fictional champion and made a statue to a fictional champion, and that's really weird. So
that's not a real statue, is it?
Yes, the Rocky statue is a real statue. They worship a real statue of a fake champion. But hey, at least they won the Super Bowl a few years back by running a high school offense on a single play. So
hey,
there's that.
They got Philly cheesesteak. I don't know.
They do have Philly cheesesteak. The most unfriendly airport I've ever been in. So anyway, sorry if you're from Philly, you can downvote us. I'm a Cowboys fan. They hate me anyway. So, all right, f11pod.com is where you can find us. And if you are watching on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you could subscribe. For those of you who are listening on Apple and Spotify, welcome back for the majority of you. But if you're new there as well, could you please, if you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to the pod. I do want to apologize up front. They are doing some work on the roof today, so if you hear some beating noises going through the microphone, I promise I'm not making weird noises. That is actually just some roofers working on the studio. So we want to go to the subject of the day, which is lies that photographers tell. Now, that kind of goes into three categories. There's lies that I hear other photographers tell to clients, or lies that I tell to clients. There's lies that photographers tell to themselves. So those are the three. I tell lies to clients, I tell lies to myself, and then I see other photographers tell lies to clients or themselves. So I guess that's technically four. So we are going to start with lies I hear other photographers tell the clients that I would never tell. And the first one is, I'm like booked for the next 6 months.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, first of all, you're a liar. Because if you are booked for the next 6 months, that probably means that you are underpricing yourself. Because think about it this way. I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's just say you need to make $5,000 a month as a photographer, and you book two $2,500 gigs. That means that you only have to work 2 gigs a month to make $5,000. But if you're somebody who does little mini family sessions out in fields and you charge people $50, well, yeah, you're booked all the time if you got to do a bunch of tiny little $50 jobs to come out to $5,000. So when
$50.
somebody's 50, oh my God, I've seen people charge as little as like $25, $30 for those. And it's like, why don't you just tell us you're in poverty or that you live off your spouse's income? Because that's literally what you fucking do.
I wouldn't even fill up half the country's gas tanks.
No, it wouldn't.
Insane.
And so, it makes me roll my eyes because I see these photographers say, I'm booked all the time. But a lot of these photographers are also the types of people who share every aspect of their lives with you on social media. And you go look at their story and it's like, you sure don't look booked to me. You sure look like you have a ton of free time. So you're lying.
You look like you're ordering guac on the side when you really shouldn't be because you can't afford it.
Yeah. So I find that when photographers do say, I'm completely booked, a lot of times they're full of it or they're completely underpriced. Now, I say this because photographers who have a really good work-life balance, they're not booked all the time. They've just figured out how to charge enough to where they have free time. Do you work to live or live to work, right? And so, I like I said, I do find that a lot of photographers who say that they are booked all the time are full of shit. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Total lie.
Yeah. There's something that's occurred in the younger generations. It started with millennials, and well, I don't think it started, but it's that hustle lifestyle, right? It's that satisfaction, that self-satisfaction in being productive but not being profitable, right? It's thinking that just because you're busy, that that you look good, that you're making money. Like, oh, I'm busy and I'm constantly doing things, I'm constantly working, and so you feel like oh, okay, I'm doing it, but at the end of the day, you're still not charging enough. So it's kind of like that. Like when people post on social media all the time saying, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm accomplishing all this." It's like, but are you getting paid for any of that? And oftentimes it's no, because if they were getting paid, they probably wouldn't be on social media as much.
Actually, it's interesting. My behavior on social media is I very rarely post my paid work anywhere, because my paid work is usually somebody else's vision. And I don't want to show that off. It's not my vision, but it is what I collect my money off of. And so, if you go to my Instagram story or my Instagram and you see me post something, it's usually just personal work. I very rarely post paid work. Every now and then there'll be a cross-pollination where something that I want to do personally is something I'm getting paid to do. But in general, usually people see my personal work and then they pay me to fill their vision based off of the aesthetic I can provide. And that's fine, but I look at it and it's usually something I've shot 1,000,000 times.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Well, it's usually something I've shot 1,000,000 times. They'll see some very, they'll see like what I call like the Target look or the Gap look. They'll see me shoot a model in front of a white backdrop. I've done that 1,000,000,000 times. That's one of the things I'm most hired for. So when I go shoot for a brand and I'm doing that exact same shoot, it adds absolutely nothing to my portfolio. So I don't even post it.
Yeah. I'm shooting a model tomorrow. I'm doing his test portfolio work for agencies in New York. He's going to be moving to New York soon. He's signed with some agencies and he needs updated shots. And I'm one of the few guys, I guess, in Austin where he feels like, all right, you're the guy to take New York quality photos and New York aesthetic photos. So, I don't think I'd ever post that stuff on my Instagram, but that's what I get paid to do.
Exactly. There's you shoot photography for yourself and you shoot photography for money, and oftentimes they do not intersect.
I'll tell you what, I'm on an Instagram fast right now. I deleted it 5 days ago and I'm reinstalling it on Sunday. So
there you go.
Yep. I rarely ever use it.
Yeah, it's interesting. My wall nowadays is mainly collaborations. But moving on to lies I see photographers tell, and an embellishment. They'll say, I'm an award-winning photographer. Well, what have you won? Oh, well, I paid money to enter into a photo contest that I won. Okay, cool. But you use that as like this marketing thing. You say I'm award-winning. Just like people who get published in vanity magazines say, I am internationally published. I'm a published photographer. What does that mean? Oh, I got published in Vigor magazine. What is Vigor magazine? It's a vanity magazine that you pay to get on the cover of oftentimes. And they have like 6 different versions of the same monthly issue because that's how many people submitted work to get it. And I've been in these magazines a couple times because I wanted to just test it out and see what it's like. And I quickly found out that it's not going to do anything for your career.
It's really depressing.
It's really depressing. And you see the quality of work that they put you next to, and you're like, I'm way better than that. And it's not even an egotistical thing. They just will put pretty much anything in there. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Images.
It's terrible. So if you're one of those people who goes to, was it called, what's that? KVAR. The whole KVAR family of magazines, those are all bullshit. And I'm about to burst a lot of your bubbles. So is Photo Vogue. Photo Vogue is not real in the sense that it's going to do much for your career. It is a real subsidiary of Vogue Italia, but what it is and the way it works, because I'm sure a lot of you watching this, you'll like see maybe one of your friends post something and they'll have the little Vogue badge in the lower left corner. And all it is every Monday morning, and I think it shuts off at like noon Italian time. So you get up at like 5 a.m., and this is a bunch of Americans do this because I actually have met a couple of photographers that they do this. They submit like 10 photos every week into Photo Vogue, and then maybe once or twice a year they get selected. And Now, I will say that most of the photography on Photo Vogue is good photography, so I'm absolutely not talking shit about that. But what I am saying is that it's more or less some random intern looks at your stuff and goes, that's cool. And then they put a Vogue badge on it, and then they send you the files back. Now, that is kind of a cool head nod, but you're not published in Vogue magazine. And if you want to get me to side-eye you, do not go around saying that you're in Vogue, because I've actually seen a photographer who basically admitted that, yeah, I submit like 10 photos every Monday morning, and I've been doing it all year, and they finally selected me, and I'm finally in Vogue. It's like, well, I just went to the grocery store and I opened up Vogue, and you weren't in there, because this is not Vogue. This isn't even a subsidiary of Vogue. This is a subsidiary of a subsidiary of Vogue. It's Vogue, like the tree goes Vogue, Vogue Italia, Photo Vogue. You are 3 tiers below Vogue.
And this isn't to like aggressively destroy anyone's dreams or anything like that, because we've all been there, and we all looking at things like this as early photographers, and they look prestigious. That looks like it's a goal that a lot of people have and then move beyond. I've been featured in Photo Vogue about 4 or 5 times earlier on in my photography career.
How much extra money did it put in your bank account?
Nobody cared.
Exactly.
I posted it on
That's my
Instagram,
fucking point.
and nobody cared.
Nobody cares.
It's actually kind of funny is my brother Oliver. I usually show him a lot of my work before I publish or before I post it and stuff like that, because he got into Parsons for photography at 17. He was a photographer, and a damn good one, before I ever picked up the camera. And he's got an artistic eye that I trust more than anyone else on this planet. And so he said something really interesting to me. I showed him some recent photos that I took last week, and he said something like this. He goes like, I showed him this really cool like abstract photo of a person that's slightly out of focus, and he goes, wow, that's a great photo. And I'm like, thank you. And he goes, but only photographers would like it. And so that's what Photo Vogue is, I think, is just like, regular people would probably see that it's artistic, but it's not something they can sink their teeth into. Whereas photographers, you're only posting these vanity stuff for other photographers. And, most of the photographers don't know that it's just vanity, garbage.
I would actually argue that people are starting to catch on more, that they do know, like they know the drill. It's like, hey, I got into Photo Vogue, and all the photographers who know what's up are like, yeah, you got into Photo Vogue because you want to put the Vogue badge on there because it makes you look more prestigious to prospective clients. We all know the game. We all know the hoop that you're jumping through. But at the end of the day, we also all know that you didn't get into Vogue. And so just be careful about the way you present yourself about that, because I've had people go, oh my God, I got into Vogue. And it's like, no, you didn't get into Vogue. Annie Leibovitz and a team of 15 people who hold fucking scrims for her are the people who got into Vogue, and she got paid and you did not. So you're not in Vogue.
Okay. I will push back on that a little bit. While Kevin, I agree with you wholeheartedly, I think there are some sort of relative aspects of that. And that if you're starting out as a photographer, and your circles are not that much further ahead of you in the photography realm, posting that you got a Vogue badge is going to impress a lot of people around you, and it's probably a net positive for you.
Well, photography in there is good,
right? But if you and I post a Photo Vogue, it's going to hurt us. If they post a Photo Vogue, people who are just starting out, people who are not sort of at that like amateurish income level of photographer, they're going to publish Photo Vogue, and a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, congratulations, that's really cool. And it's probably going to be a net positive in exposure and credibility at that level.
I've never been in Photo Vogue because I look at Photo Vogue like I look at the lottery. You can't win if you don't play.
I think you're older than Photo Vogue, Kevin. So I think you see right through it.
You can't win if you don't play. And since I don't submit my photos to Photo Vogue, I guess I can never get in there because you have to play, right? Like you have to.
What does that have to do with what I just said, though? Like, there's a net positive for people who are at a certain threshold.
You're talking about how it would hurt me. It's like, well, I've never even tried it. So is my point.
Oh, okay, that's cool. All right.
No, your point is well taken. And if you're watching this, the photography in Photo Vogue is, for the most part, fantastic.
Really good,
I'm not talking shit at all about that aspect of it. I'm just saying that don't go around like pretending that you accomplished more than you actually did.
It's a lie.
That's the whole point, is that is a lie. Okay? So moving on. I would also say that people who do what I call fake interviews to make themselves feel more prestigious. So like I fell victim to this, but like there's this thing called Voyage, and then they just insert the city name. It could be Voyage Philadelphia, Voyage New York, Voyage Austin. Someone was like, hey, so-and-so recommended you for an interview for this. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really do a lot of research. They asked me really generic questions. What's a very challenging thing in your life that you've had to overcome? And I just filled it out. It was just an online questionnaire, and I sent it in, and then they said, send us a picture. And then like, cool, they published an interview of you for this Voyage Austin magazine. And then like, and at the end, they're like, can you recommend 3 people? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. They literally just take the same set of questions. They send them to somebody. When that person is done, they go, could you recommend 3 people? They recommend 3 people. They send those same set of questions to the same those 3 people. And it's just a cycle. And then later on, they reached out to me to see if I wanted to like pay them to do promotional stuff for me. I was like, no, I'm good. There's another one that's called like Canvas Rebel. Anyway, it's one thing to do those interviews. It's another thing to post those interviews on your Facebook or whatever and go, look, everybody, I got interviewed by Canvas Rebel, to make yourself look like you're more prestigious than you actually are, when all that happened was some random person you've never met, who's never even looked at your work, sent you very generic questions to make you look more important than you actually are. Now, maybe that gets somebody to reach out to you and go, take pictures of me and my family out in the field. But I just think it's a really cheap way to try to grow your business. And I don't necessarily think it's an effective way to grow your business, which leads me to another one I want to talk about. And once again, I apologize for the roofing sound.
Hold on. I will say I did do one of those Voyage Austins.
Yes. And then he recommended me and I said, no, thank you to them.
I did post it to my LinkedIn. And a lot of people were like, yo, this is lit.
Yeah, because people are fooled. It's deceptive.
They don't know. They don't know. How many people? You have to be in the photography world to know. You post it to LinkedIn. People who are in sales, people who are in middle management, they're like, yo, that's sick, Brandon.
Yeah, because they're not hip to it. But I feel dirty doing it. Like, I would rather do a real interview with a real publication. I personally don't feel like the fake it till you make it thing always works out the way you want it to. And I think that if people do find out that you're doing this fake interview bullshit, that it could really hurt you as a brand. And it only takes seconds to destroy your reputation. So, it's like a cheap gain. And I did it that one time. And you know how much business it got me? It got me $0. It did not impact my bank account at all. Back to the Photo Vogue thing. I've asked a couple of people who've been in Photo Vogue, including, as I just asked Brandon, did your bank account grow at all? And the answer is always an emphatic no. So the other one that I think is a lie that photographers tell to clients in how they present themselves is the whole begging to vote. Like, vote for me for the best photographer in Travis County, or vote for me to be the best photographer in Williamson County. These are counties that surround or in Austin, or the best family photographer. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. And then you end up getting a bunch of votes and you end up winning that category. And then you go on your website and you go, voted the best photographer in Travis County. By who?
I've never seen that before.
I have. Well, it's not for what we do. We shoot models. That's not really, but you'll see that with like family photographers and like top wedding photographer in such and such county.
Okay.
That is lame.
Okay.
But that's just a popularity contest. It's just begging your friends to vote for you, and then you got more votes. It doesn't mean what?
From an artistic standpoint, that makes sense. Okay. Who is their clientele if you're shooting families and weddings? It's people who have no clue, no idea about anything photographic. So that will most likely add more money to their pockets.
It could. I'm not saying it's not an effective tactic. I'm saying it's a lie.
Is it though? If they were voted best.
Okay, if you have a county that has 1 million people in it.
Yeah.
What's the probability that the person who did the best job of getting their friends to vote for them, and then you take all the wedding photographers in that county and say who has the best work, and then people see the work and vote on it? What's the probability that that's going to be the same person? Slim to fucking none. That just means that you got a bunch of people to vote for you.
Exactly, and that's all the award claims. Voted best.
Yeah, I know.
That's literally all it claims.
No, you're cutting out a big portion of that sentence. voted best wedding photographer. How many of these people have actually seen your wedding photography? You know, a lot of these people are just like, yeah, okay, I'll vote for it.
Doesn't matter. It's still voted. It doesn't say best wedding photographer by vote.
In technicalities, they were voted best wedding photographer, so it's technically not a lie, but I still think it's a deceptive tactic to get you to sound more prestigious than you actually are, which in and of itself is a lie.
Okay, it's deceitful. It's not like a blatant. It's a technical like truth. It's like if you're a company and you're selling a product of any sort, you want the credibility of all the logos for like Men's Health magazine, etc.
Being lying and
you
deceitful
pay for that.
are like peas and carrots.
Maybe.
Definitely.
Maybe. Well, look, if you're voted best wedding photographer in Austin, you're voted best wedding photographer in Austin.
But then you have to look at the credibility of whoever voted it. Like I could just create a poll on Twitter.
Yeah, the credibility.
Go who's the best? Is Brandon Gorey the best photographer in the world? And if there's 51% yes and 49% no, he's the best he's the best photographer in the world.
Your qualm is with the voting criteria, not with the result of the vote.
It's putting it's basically what credibility. That's the word I'm looking for. How credible is this poll? And I know it's subjective, but my point being is that you're taking this shit that's really convoluted and it's not even really like that focused, and you're trying to make it sound like you're more prestigious than you actually are. You're being somewhat deceitful, and in my opinion, that goes hand in hand with lying.
It's a scam. It's not high quality, but it's not like it's not like a lie.
Scam. That's good enough for me. Do you have any lies that photographers tell the clients that you yourself would never tell that you want to talk about? Because I've been talking about mine.
I'll tell you what. When I was a more insecure photographer, and I thought that, it's just looking good was the end all be all. I definitely did tell people I was booked more than I was. And it's not like clients are going to deduce like, oh, if he's booked more often, he's probably got a lower rate, or, they don't, no one thinks that far when you're a client.
So you're shifting the lies that you tell clients, which is fine. By the way, I will.
Well, I try my hardest not to lie to the client. In fact, I find that I get more, developing that trust with the client is better. Like if I fuck up, and I tell the client that, that's a good deal. The lies I tell my clients are usually really white lies. Like if I accidentally forget a piece of equipment or something malfunctions, I'll just be like, all right, so we were going to take this stylistic approach, but because I think that, the direction needs to go this way, we're going to start moving towards hard light because maybe I forgot the diffusion or something.
A lot of it has to do with the way that you say things, because so for instance, you could say, I am booked solid for the next 2 weeks. And if I go look at your schedule, you're probably not booked solid. That is a lie. The way I say it is, let me see if I can fit you into my schedule for the next 2 weeks, because my entire life is not just photography. I have a family. I have other things that are in my life. And so it's how you say it. It's not, oh my God, I'm booked solid for the next 2 weeks. That's bullshit, because I hope you have free time.
You don't even have to lie about it. Just say hey, I've got this day available. Does that work? You don't even have to say the negative.
Yeah, I just say, let me see if I can fit you into my schedule. I'll get back to you. And then I get back to them.
Plus, nobody wants to hear that you're booked. Nobody cares. That's like, what do I say to that?
Bingo.
What do I say to, oh, cool, you can't have me on the days that I'd prefer. How about you tell me when you can have me, because I'd like to get this over with.
Yeah, for me, I always leave time open for several reasons. One, an incredible opportunity might fall into my lap.
Yeah.
And if I don't have anything available in the next 2 weeks, I might miss out on an incredible opportunity. So I tend to leave a little bit of time open in my schedule that I would normally just fill for me and family time. I just have a life. But if an incredible opportunity falls in my lap, I try to keep an open schedule. And the way I offset that is that I charge more when it's time to make money. It's if instead of doing 2 sessions, I'll just charge twice as more for 1 session and find the type of clientele that'll pay that much.
And if it's something where you have to push things around in your life and you're like, this is a client who has a budget that would work in my favor if I had to put a little bit more stress on my shoulders. Just say, hey, what's your deadline? Oh, they've got a hard deadline for the end of the month. We're about a week and a half in and I'm booked out. Cool. If I sacrifice one of my weeknights and a little bit of sleep the next couple days for editing, I can charge more because that's a closer deadline. And then you do that. But you don't lie about it. Just ask, what is it a hard deadline? Do you need these quick? Am I your last or second to last option here? Just talk to them. You don't need to lie. Lying should never ever occur. There's absolutely no need for it because at the end of the day, you buy things from people that you wish would not lie to you, and you're just doing the same thing to your client.
Well, and I think that comes down to having a good work and life balance. If you have a good work and life balance, that means that you always have some free time, that every now and then something will fall into your lap and you go, I could fill that in with work. And Brian and I can't talk about it because I signed an NDA, but I have a really important thing coming up in my career possibly next month that could open up some new doors for me that like I said, I can't talk about it, but I had that date open because I always leave some dates open because you never know when something might fall in your lap or a big opportunity, right, might fall in your lap. So it's good to have that balance. And then if that opportunity had not fallen in my lap, I could have just hung out with my kids that day. Yeah. So, it's just, it's having that, because if you are always booked, think about it this way too, about the thing where it's like, oh, I'm always booked. Well, if you're always booked, that means you're always working. And if you're always working, that means that you're not enjoying life. And if you're not enjoying life, that probably means that you're going to burn out on photography and just fade away.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have free time. You have to work to live, right? So
I think we love talking about our approach to the business end of photography. We're kind of getting a little bit off topic here, but
it all comes into not being a liar.
Yeah.
How you present yourself is important. So I think when I'm looking to work with a prospective trade or whatever, I want them to be somebody who's not a workaholic either. I would want somebody who has a work-life balance personally. So
plus, you can smell liars from a mile away.
I agree. Since we are talking about lies that we tell to clients, once again, it's how I present it. I kind of under-promise, over-deliver on editing times. That's a white lie area. I'll say, I'm going to get your edits back to you in 2 weeks, which is my way of saying I'm going to get it back in 1 week. I always half the time I say. That's just a good customer service thing, in my opinion. But the other thing, and this is something we talked about in previous episodes, is you want to know when I edit people's photos when I feel like it, because and that's something that it's taken me a really long time to get down, because if I edit your photos when I don't feel like it, I am not going to deliver you photos that could be as good as they could be.
Right.
But I will sit on a project for a week and a half, and then I will knock it out in an afternoon, because I it all just kind of clicks. It's like, okay, I know exactly how I want it. I know exactly how I want to edit it. And then I go for it. But that is a white lie that I tell the clients. I say, hey, it's going to take me 2 weeks. It only takes me usually an afternoon, unless it's like a heavy skin retouching. It usually takes me an afternoon to edit an entire photo session. But it takes me, a week to 2 weeks to deliver it, because I need to sit and figure out exactly how I want to attack it.
You don't even have to lie about that. Just within 14 days.
Yeah,
but you don't even have to lie.
But I call it a white lie because I tell them it's going to take longer than it is. I'm not telling the truth, because I delivered it way faster, right? But that's a good white lie to tell, in my opinion.
Well, I don't believe that any lying is good, personally, and you could. Yeah, within 2 words, you could change that to not lying. Just say I'll deliver within 2 weeks, 2 weeks max. Expect them around in the latter half.
Fair enough.
Just keep it open. Plus, most people, I've found a lot of clients, 2 weeks is a very short amount of time.
People always tell me I have short delivery times. I'm like, you're fast. That model Malika that I've shot with several times, she had some photographer. It took 8 weeks to get some photos back to her, and it was one outfit change. It's that to me is just weird. It's how can you not 8 weeks?
Why would anyone work with that guy? Why would you what? By 8 weeks, you might not even be interested in seeing the photos.
By 8 weeks, your hair will be completely different. You'll need new digitals.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was weird.
Weird.
Do you have any other lies you tell to clients? Those are mine. No. I don't have that many.
No.
So. Okay, well then let's talk about lies that photographers tell to themselves. If you do good work, people will come to you.
Oh yeah. Wow.
That's
Jeez,
bullshit.
I still believe that.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. I'm sorry. And yeah.
But,
yes.
But how much more work would come to you if you put as much effort into your business as you did into your work? Like, go out and find people to let them know that you exist to see your work, as opposed to just putting it on Instagram and waiting for people to come to you. That's my point, is people say, if you do good work, people will come to you. I think that's a lie that people tell themselves, because I know, I'll tell you this right now. I know some photographers who are way better than I am, and I make way more money than they do.
I don't want to work with people that I would have to grab in a business sense. I find that to be exhausting. I've done that. 2023 and end of 2022, that was my big, all right, I'm going to make money as a photographer. And I did. I ended up making around $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Not bad. Okay. It was incredible supplemental income. Could not be asked to do that again. All of my recent client work in the last 6 months have been 6 to 7 months have strictly been, hey, your work is unlike anything I've seen in Austin. I need to shoot with you for my idea, and it needs to be your aesthetic. And I am so okay with that, because I get to charge my price. They expect me to charge my price, and I get to do what I want to do. And it is so much fun on those shoots.
Here's where my pushback would be on that. Those people exist, and sometimes those people find you. But if you found a way to find those people to let them know that you exist, so more of them would reach out to you.
How would you know? How do you do that?
We don't have time to get into that.
I know.
Whole episode,
I just think one sentence answer. I just think, okay, Facebook ads.
Facebook ads somewhat work. Instagram can somewhat work, but Google SEO, stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Going out and networking. Going out and actually meeting people, getting face-to-face, networking with people, and then, oh, I know so-and-so who knows so-and-so. Going out and getting your hands dirty. A lot of times that's what you got to do. And a lot of people don't want to put as much effort into their business as they put into their photography. And that is why a lot of them keep it as a hobby and do not have it as a career.
I know. I'll tell you what. It really comes down to passion. If you don't have the drive to network, sorry, that sucks. With Illfound, I have the passion to network. With photography, couldn't be fucked. Photography is too near and dear to my heart as an art that I wouldn't want to soil it with the business aspect. I can't stand that.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with another lie that photographers tell themselves, which is that talent equals money. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Holy gosh!
Because here's my take on that.
Up to an extent, though.
You have to be above a certain threshold to make money off photography, and that threshold is that people just need to agree that your work is good enough to pay you for. Once you get above that threshold, you can start making money with photography, because the very, 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 very best photographers out there, yes, some of them do make some pretty good money, but a lot of them are in some crazy esoteric niche that it's not something that appeals necessarily to the masses anyway. I don't know a single fine art photographer out there next to someone like Tyler Shields or somebody who sells really badass prints at Sotheby's or one of those places who's making more than a wedding photographer, a good wedding photographer. Most good wedding photographers make more than most of the photographers I know, just because they know how to run a business. But my point being is that most of my friends who aren't wedding photographers are way more talented than the wedding photographers I know, but they don't make as much money.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it's interesting. So from very bottom to just below the top, there's that threshold, right? Somewhere around here in the middle zone where people can agree that you're worth paying. And then everywhere up to there, it's not a meritocracy. Quality doesn't necessarily get better in a linear fashion. It kind of just, you're getting paid more just because you're better at networking than your photography, etc. But I will say, with everything, when you get to the top, where you're one of a handful of photographers that everyone knows, you have to be the best in the world.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So for the most part, talent doesn't equal money. But
David
when you're in that very top,
Annie Leibovitz,
when you're in that top 0.001% tier, that's different. But that's only 0.001% of all photographers. It's such a small, know. I think, like I said, when you're in this area that Brandon was talking about, this kind of mid tier, a lot of times it's not necessarily about talent as much as it is about your ability to run a business.
Right.
And I think that those people, I think at that point it's about hustle. It's like, I'm good enough to make money off my photography. I want it more. Therefore, I make more. Whereas the other people are like, the more right-brained, creative types are like, I don't have time to open up QuickBooks and bookkeep today. It's like, yeah, that's why this is a hobby.
Right. But like the same goes for modeling. And then you've got like your select top models in like across the world. You've got like your Emily Ratajkowski's, you've got your face models for Victoria's Secret, your cornerstone models that everyone knows, they're not just good looking enough and like hustle enough to where they're going to get paid. They borderline don't look human because their faces are just so like wildly desirable to have on everyone's stuff. And their bodies are like wildly like, the perfect ratio or whatever, But like there will always be that like top few where your quality has to be the very, very like cream of the crop. And it's not just about the hustle.
Right on. Another one, and this one, as a guy who runs a YouTube channel that focuses mainly on gear reviews, this one makes me laugh, but it is true, which is that next piece of gear is the thing that's missing that's going to take you to that next level. Wow. That is bullshit.
We have a lot in common.
Yeah. that is bullshit. And I just want to say for the record, because I always have this reputation as the gearhead and the person who loves gear. I collect gear like maybe, some woman collects shoes, right? I just like it. It's my thing. Like I like gear. I like to learn gear. I like to take things apart, put them back together, mess around with things, learn what makes them tick, learn why they're designed a certain way. But none of that, like really, outside of like maybe my Canon R5 and its autofocus system, and I'm sure Brandon, when he got his Z8 with its autofocus system, he's like, okay, this is kind of a revelation that's going to help my photography. But in general, you want to go out and buy a new lens, it's just because I want to see things at that perspective. I don't necessarily think it's going to transform me as a photographer. To my main point, I buy gear for myself. And most photographers buy gear for themselves because their clients, they don't give a shit. Clients do not care if you have a 24-70 2.8 versus a 28-70 f2. They just care that they like the pictures. And that's it. And they don't know the difference between one stop of light in terms of depth of field and light transmission and all that. And so it's not that piece of gear that is going to get you to that next level. It's always going to be something else. Now, you obviously have to have a piece of gear that can do what you need it to do, but that's just a tool. And we've been able to take great pictures for well over 100 years. So chances are you could buy something that's 6 or 7 years old and it'll still do what you need it to do.
Yeah, I've fallen into that trap before. And I know that I know what I'm doing it now. I kind of stopped telling myself that lie about a year ago, and I just kept getting equipment. I'm like, all right, cool. This is gonna be the new era of my work, a new chapter, a new dawn in my work, and it really doesn't change a whole lot. It kind of just expands the borders by maybe 5 to 10% of what you can actually execute creatively, just from a technical aspect. But in terms of actual work, if you don't have a concept and you don't have an idea and you don't have an inspiration, you don't have a drive, what the hell's a cold piece of equipment gonna do for you? That's not gonna drive you to get up off the couch and go shoot. Maybe it will for a week, but like after that, you're just like, oh wow, it's still a camera.
Well, as a gearhead, and I'm definitely not saying this braggadociously, but I shoot on an R5, I shoot on an R8, I shoot on an X100VI, I shoot on a Fuji X-H2, I shoot on a GFX100S, and I shoot on a Mamiya RB67, and I shoot on a Hasselblad 510, and I shoot on a C330. Those are all my cameras that I will just say, I feel like shooting on this today. And you know what all my work looks like on all those cameras? It all looks like my work. Whether I'm shooting it on a film 6x7, or I'm shooting it on the Fuji X100VI, it still looks like my work.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah. I'm just choosing a different medium, a different camera system to shoot it on. And that's something that I've learned over the years that has definitely made me conclude that that piece of gear is not that missing piece in your photography.
That's
usually.
That's really interesting. My mind thinks differently when I shoot on film. My photos are a little bit different.
My wallet thinks differently when I shoot on film. I'm like, really make sure you execute this. I become way more technical when I shoot on film because I just like, do I have it framed the way I want to? Because a lot of times I can't. I mean, I can crop film, but like I don't want to crop film.
I don't want to crop film.
Yeah,
either.
I don't want to crop film.
That.
I want to get the frame right. I'll crop a 100 megapixel Fuji file off my GFX all day long. I'm like, I'm a little wide. Who cares?
Yeah,
it's still gonna be a 200 megabyte file.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. A lie I often tell myself is that I'm not good enough to make the work that I want to make, and I do have a problem with that in almost every area of my life. And I don't know where it stems from. I think it kind of comes from if it's not going to be perfect, I don't want to do it.
I have a theory on that. So, and this kind of fits into how I think, which is I am never 100% satisfied. And I feel like you're constantly going to chase that thing that you're chasing until the day you die. You're never going to catch it. And I know that in my head. I'm never going to catch it. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to have perfection. It's like, is the photo perfect or is the edit just done? It's like I've decided to finish the edit. There are still things that I think I could do better, but I don't know if I'll ever have all the knowledge to get to that point where I can make it perfect. And that's that never-ending chase that you do. And as I've gotten older, I've just come to accept that all that is I'm just going to continue learning until I die.
Ooh,
and
what about this? Trying to figure out how to perfect taking those perfect accidental shots where the accidents come out better than your intended work, and you're like, how the fuck do I do that intentionally next time? An
intentional accident. Those are hard. Yeah, that's something that I'll
where it's like
ever
your
perfect.
Favorite photo out of the entire shoot was just hey, screw it.
But that brings up another lie that we tell ourselves, which is I'm going to fix it in post. Sometimes you can't completely fix it in post.
And that is a huge, if the lie that, okay, I don't like it in pre, I'll probably like it in post. Never. If a photo does not look complete out of the camera, God help you in post. Like that's just not going to come together.
And that's why I gravitate toward the Fuji system a lot, because we had the conversation in our last episode about what we like and don't like about Fuji versus Nikon and all that. And Brandon still knows that he gets it right at his Nikon, and that's fine. And then he does what he does in post. But my brain is a little bit more wired to where I want a lot of the stuff that I do in post to be done at my camera, because that's more of an assurance that I know I don't have to worry about fixing it in post because I got 98% of it at the camera.
Okay, this isn't a caveat. I just want to add that like it's not that I'm stoked to work on it and manipulate it in post. It's that I see what it looks like in post as I'm shooting. I already know where I'm going with the photo.
And that's fine. That's fine. So that's a little different though than the lie that we're talking about, because the lie that we're talking about, like you already brought up, is I'm not sure if I got it right, but I'll probably get it right in post. You probably didn't get it right in post, and you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. What else? I don't need to learn how to use Flash. Unless you shoot landscapes, I'm going to call bullshit on that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you like money?
Yeah.
I shoot events. Cool, you need a flash. I shoot weddings. Oh, cool, you need a flash. I shoot portraits. Well, if you want to have a full portfolio portraits and you want to learn how to shoot studio photography, you need to learn how to use Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, I shoot product photography. You need to learn how to use Flash.
Yeah.
Do you like money? I need to learn how to use Flash.
Okay, this might be a lie. I haven't determined it yet, but it's kind of like, it's the next thing on my radar. It's developing currently in my photographic mind. Is it a lie that I believe I don't need to learn how to coach people into taking a good photo if they can't do it themselves?
Are you talking about... Okay. Are you talking about coaching a model or coaching another photographer?
Oh, no. A model. So I'll give an example. When testing with first-time models who are recently signed, I feel an incumbent pressure to have to direct them into being a model. Mm-hmm. And it's not a readily available skill for me to do because I just couldn't care less. If I don't care, I have a hard time doing it. More of that comes into forcing myself to care about it, because and that's kind of like my whole strategy even today is I just don't want to shoot for any reason with anyone who can't deliver a character that they have upon themselves.
So I shoot new models for money, and I'm building their portfolios.
Right.
So that's the situation where it's like, well, I'm shooting for somebody else. The assignment is a little different than when I'm shooting for, was a lot different than when I'm shooting for myself. But in that scenario, what I do is I just let them fly. I go, show me what you got. And then I see how they photograph, kind of size them up. I figure out what they need to work on. And then I let them fail a bunch. And we'll just throw that shit out, and we'll just take the stuff that's good. And then I'll coach them into some poses. I usually shoot tethered, of course, because they can see themselves on the monitor. That helps their confidence in real time, just to see themselves. It's almost like having a mirror.
That's almost a must. That's almost a lie into itself.
It is a must. Like, as a matter of fact, on my price sheet, because I shoot when a new model gets signed to an agency, there are a couple agencies that when the models get signed, I'm on the roster of photographers, and they go, here's the photographers we reach out to, here's their price sheets. In my price sheet, in the description of my pricing, it says, you will be shooting tethered, you will see yourself on a monitor, because that tends to actually sell the model toward coming to me over the other photographers, because they supposedly don't put that in their price sheet.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, cool, I can see myself in real time. So I use that as a selling point. But to your original topic that you're talking about with directing models, is it's very nuanced when they're new, because they are learning how to become a model, but they may already have some natural things within them that come across really well on camera. And so I try to get that out of them without any direction first. So I know I got some good, natural, candid style looking pictures.
Right.
Then I'll try to direct them to something, especially with like headshots and all that. But, it's like this is your ceiling on something that you're directed to, and this is your ceiling on something that you naturally arrive to yourself. I've always been a big believer in that. And when I work with models who are seasoned models, their ceiling is up here because they are super talented, and they naturally get to that spot. So, I get people who reach out to me and go, I want you to take pictures like this model that I've seen you take in the past. And, that model that they see is some really badass professional, and they are inexperienced. I have a very down to earth conversation with them, a very realistic and blunt conversation. We're like, hey, this is where your ceiling is right now. When you learn to get better at what you do, you can go to this next tier. And then when you go up here, you can be at their tier, but your ceiling is like their floor,
Yeah.
And so you have to be very conscious of that when you're talking about expectations. We did go off on a little bit of a side tangent, because this is about lies that we tell ourselves. But yes, to your point on directing models, that's my philosophy anyway.
I think I agree with you. I never like the photos I take of test models, and I always feel like I'm under delivering. I never send photos where I'm like, this is work that's worth it. I hate the photos I
think
send.
the reason why is because they're here in their career and you're here in your career. And so even if you do something that's here for them, that's down here for you. That's what it is.
Well, I feel
you're
like
trying to pull them up closer to your level. So you're actually helping them out, but you'll never put it in your portfolio because what they're giving you isn't to the standard that you're used to using.
I feel uneasy because their lack of abilities, I think it reflects on me, and then like any agency, they'll just like go, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, but I think the agencies know, the agency that gives you the model knows that the model's very green. So they know that the expectations are here, not here. And they've seen, the reason why they've hired you in the first place is because they know that you do work up here. So yeah. I think the agencies have, and that's why you don't post that stuff on your Instagram. You don't go, hey, here's what I did with this new model who's green. So yeah. I'm the same way. I very rarely post
it
new model stuff.
The whole testing thing makes me very uneasy because it just, yeah. But just a little side tangent. When I tested with some of the models in New York, yeah, some of them were here, but some of them were also here, and it was just like, oh.
That's why they got to New York.
Yeah, the work. Yeah. Anyways.
So do you have any other lies that you see photographers tell others? Lies that they tell themselves? Lies that they tell to other photographers?
Lies that they tell themselves. Yeah, if you make eye-catching content on Instagram, then your work is justified.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Fuck that. That's an absolute lie. So many people were like, oh, well, my reels are doing well, and, I've got a lot of following, and I'm a photographic influencer. That means that their work is worth a damn.
What does doing well even mean, though? Does it fill your bank account up? Because to me,
I don't know.
When I see something on Instagram, I scroll to it and go, "That's cool," and I hit the heart, and then I keep scrolling. I spent 2 seconds looking at a photo.
Okay, you can leverage a high following on Instagram to do to do deals with brands, to promote certain products. You can funnel them to your YouTube or your TikTok where you do more brands and stuff. You can start selling merch. You can start collabing with certain products, like how Peter McKinnon's worked with a number of different products to release his specific line. I think there is something in that, and it's good. It's a good money generator. But in terms of work itself, it's such a bummer that work doesn't speak for itself unless you're at the very top. That you have to do everything, and I don't want to advocate for my work, because my work, if I wanted to talk about my work, I'd talk about my work and what each shot means. But that's why I made the fucking work, and nobody sees it because they're not in it. You know what I mean? They're not in the realm. It's difficult.
That's one of the reasons why I like having my YouTube channel when I do gear reviews, is because it can showcase my work in a longer format than Instagram. Because in Instagram, people just scroll by my pictures, they hit a heart icon, and they move on.
Well,
and YouTube, I can talk about a photo for 4 or 5 minutes. One of your best performing video on your YouTube channel is you talking about color grading some photos that you were passionate about.
Yeah.
That format is more compatible with how your work can be appreciated, because you have a lot of appreciation of that work that you would have never gotten on Instagram. And then there goes the guys working on the ceiling.
I thought you were just ripping ass that first second.
It sounds like I'm ripping ass. You got anything else you want to add, or you want to wrap the episode? He's putting a lot of thought in this. He might have something else.
Lies that photographers tell other photographers.
Well, I'd say one of the lies that we already talked about is that, I'm always booked, because they want to sound like they're more busy than they actually are. And they're sizing up their peers. I know those people are full of shit. The people who brag about how booked they are all the time. But let's see, and then like I said, the photo vogue thing is kind of lies that they tell the other photographers, because they're like, yeah, we're not buying that. But I don't know. I don't have anything else.
That you have to be at a certain threshold to start showcasing your work. Yeah. I know a lot of photographers. I actually know a lot of music producers as well, who they refuse to release any of their work, which is complete, because they think that it's not going to be appreciated at the level they expect. And I think that's just something that is incumbent upon us to just swallow and get, just deal with. But apart from that, I shared my end.
Cool. Well, then I think we're going to wrap that up. That does it for today's episode. We want to thank each and every one of you who watched and listened. This is definitely a more audio-centric pod today. And for those of you listening on Apple and Spotify, that's probably a good thing. F11pod.com is where you can find us. If you are hip to the social media handles, you can find us at F11pod. And if you are watching us on YouTube, we would humbly ask you to click that subscribe button below. And of course, if you're on Apple and Spotify, we'd appreciate the follow as well. And until next time, chase light and not algorithms.